Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Before we really get into our recap/preview show for the week, it's a quick announcement here. As you notice, we are on a different channel. I did that on purpose. I'm going to consolidate things going forward. We're going to be in this channel moving forward. Porcupine Football will house the videos already played in this dynasty, but it'll be gone besides for that. A couple reasons for that. I want to do some additional projects here going forward. This gives me an easier way to kind of consolidate everything together, other than, having them all under one Porcupine Football name, which doesn't make sense for other things, such as the Nebraska Dynasty that I'm going to be running here, which if you want to, you can go check that out. You can find it in the channel here. And also the music license that I use is only valid for one channel, and so it makes sense to put everything into one channel. So as we move along here, let's look at the games from week 3 around the country. Minnesota, a huge non-conference win over Middle Tennessee State there, 41-10. Middle Tennessee State has been a non-Power 5 powerhouse and made the college football playoff a couple of years ago. Get taken down by Minnesota there. Oklahoma falls to Texas Tech. Penn State handles Northwestern. In a top 25 showdown, Miami cruises over Wake Forest. And number 4, Florida State gets it done over number 14, Virginia Tech, 35-32. A little too late there for the Hokies. At the end, they lose it by a field goal. Ohio State survives over North Carolina, 38-31. That was a big game for the Buckeyes. Number 1, Ohio State, possibly looking at a 1-versus-2 showdown later on in the year against Wisconsin State. We'll see if that comes to fruition or not. But at any rate, Ohio State wins. You see the late garbage time score there for North Carolina. And then Oregon is upset by Wyoming. The Cowboys score 14 in the fourth quarter to win it over Oregon. They score with 1:58 to play, 24-17. The Ducks go down. USC holds on in a close one against Washington State there, and then Florida just takes it to Arkansas, looking like the Razorbacks may have been overrated to start the season. They fall to 1-2, and then Akron beats Kansas State 28-25. It's kind of been the week of the upset here, going through the top 25. You see there, Kansas State scores at the end, not enough. Akron holds on to pull the upset over Kansas State in Manhattan. Whoop, and then one game we forgot to sim here, so we'll do that now. Let's see how this one turns out. LSU and Tennessee. The Volunteers get it done against LSU, 38-19. So Tennessee moves to 2-1. In the Big Ten, you see Minnesota, the win over Middle Tennessee State. Iowa gets a win over their in-state rival. Some of these we've already seen from top 25 games. Indiana falls to Colorado State. Ohio State, a winner once again. Missouri over Purdue. And Michigan State holds on to beat South Florida. So some good and some bad around the Big Ten for the week. So moving on to our new top 25 poll, you see there the top 3 stay the same. You have 5 teams receiving first place votes, so that's kind of interesting. Seems to be a bit of a wide open race for the college football playoff among several teams, although you do have a lot of teams with one loss early in the season in the top 10. But still a lot of football to be played left. Could go any direction there. There you see Oklahoma losing. They fall from 5 down to 15. Texas A&M had a big win last week. They are in at number 20. And then Middle Tennessee State, after that loss to Minnesota by 31 points, only drops down 6 spots on the number 22. And then you see Auburn checking into the top 25 at number 25. You see the others receiving votes. And then Oregon dropped out of the top 25 this week. So games for week 4 across the top 25 and the Big Ten. Notre Dame, a top 20 matchup with Georgia Tech. Notre Dame really has a talent advantage there, but we'll see. Georgia Tech has overachieved in recent years. We'll see if they play it close. Ohio State, Minnesota. A big one in the ACC/Big East. Clemson against Virginia Tech. This a crossover between the ACC and the Big East, but potentially maybe a preview of the championship game later on. Clemson, again, expected to win, but we'll see if Virginia Tech can keep it close and maybe pull the upset there. Purdue, a big game for the Big Ten. They're visiting Miami. If they could pull an upset, that would be helpful for the Big Ten's perception nationally. USC, Washington, and then Florida and Tennessee, probably the game of the week. Huge game in the SEC. This could end up deciding the SEC East, as you have number 5 Florida and number 10, Tennessee. Both 1-0 in SEC play. Really a big matchup. We're going to be watching that one closely. That definitely has college football playoff implications there. Michigan and Penn State, the game of the week in the Big Ten Conference. These two now with the new alignment with the North and the South in the Big Ten in different divisions, but two top 25 caliber teams they're facing off in the Big Ten in an early season conference showdown. Other games around the Big Ten, Rice against Northwestern. We saw Minnesota and Ohio State. Illinois visits Arkansas. We talked about Purdue and Miami a little bit. Michigan State and Indiana. Iowa, Wisconsin, always a fun game. And then Michigan and Penn State, as we mentioned earlier. No recruiting news of note this week, no commitments or anything like that, so we're going to move straight into our opponent preview. You see head coach Bobby Hauck there, 2020 Utah State, decent, only 1-15 against the top 25. He'll try to get his second top 25 as he faces Wisconsin State this week. Runs a pro-style offense, not going to really see any no-huddle from them, which is a welcome relief for the Wisconsin State defense after facing USC and Cincinnati, both of which like to run no-huddle. Defensively, they're on a 3-3-5. Looking at the top of the roster here as we move into our roster breakdown, Kevin Mitzenhammer, by far the best player. The defense much better than the offense. We'll kind of go through this, but we have Jordan Love as a starting quarterback, impact player, 86 overall. Only completing 52% of his passes this year. Only completed 53 last year. Career a 49% passer, so not great, but the touchdown to interception ratio 26-8 is good from last year, 3-1 in the current year. He takes care of the football, but he needs some receivers to help him out. Morian Walker Jr. going to be the running back. Went over 1,000 yards last year, averaging 5.4 pop in the early season this year. 12 touchdowns there. You see last season, he's productive. Probably not going to hurt you a lot out of the backfield in the receiving game, but after him, there's not a whole lot to write home about. Yeah, they're decent. They're down 2-3 on the depth chart. They have a little bit of depth at running back, but probably not going to kill you, not the stable that we saw against USC. The wide receiver corps is very, very young for Utah State. They really need someone to step up. You see Smith there at the top, only 83 speed. This is the one matchup against a receiving core there where the Wisconsin State secondary may have the advantage. You're not going to say that against the more elite teams that Wisconsin State will face this year, but against this Utah State group is definitely the case. Looking across the offensive line, Justice will be out with an injury. He's their best offensive lineman there, the left tackle, so that will definitely help Wisconsin State. They have some pretty average players across the rest of the line. They're not awful, but Wisconsin State will definitely have the talent advantage in the trenches when the Aggies have the football. Moving to the defensive side, this is where if Utah State's going to stay in this game, their defense is going to have to step up. They have some pretty good players on the defensive side of the ball with the defensive line there, and then you see the linebackers in a minute are pretty solid. So to me, what this game is going to come down to is going to be, can the front seven of Utah State slow down the Porcupine rushing game? Utah State is going to want to ugly this one up. They are at a talent disadvantage. They do have some talented players on defense, as you see there, Jacobson 82, and then Mitzenhammer, as we talked about, the 95 overall, the leader of the defense and the leader of the team for Utah State. They want to muddy this one up. The secondary is actually pretty good too and matches up pretty well with the Wisconsin State receivers. If there's one straight up advantage that Utah State has, it may be the Utah State secondary against the Wisconsin State receivers. Definitely a matchup to watch, because then if Utah State can slow down the Porcupine running game and make Wisconsin State throw the football, then they may have a chance, because they do have some pretty good players in the secondary that can defend the pass. So that's the key to the game for me. I think that, if Utah State wins, it's going to have to be a low-scoring affair. I don't think their offense is going to do a whole lot against this Porcupine defense. Jordan Love is a pretty good quarterback, but the receiving corps just doesn't have the horses in the stable to hang with the quick, fast, talented, but young Wisconsin State secondary, especially with the way that this secondary has been playing lately. You saw the great game they had against USC, and then really shut down the Cincinnati passing game last week too. So to me, it's going to have to be, for Utah State, a low-scoring game. They're going to have to stop the Wisconsin State running game. If they can do that, then they may have a chance, because if they can force Wisconsin State to throw, they may have an advantage in that area. So that's my key to the game. Wisconsin State run the ball. Utah State stop the run. Maybe it sounds cliche, but I truly believe the way this one matches up, that is going to go a long ways in determining the outcome here. That's all we've got for the preview this week. Check back in with us, and please watch the Wisconsin State against Utah State game this Saturday. We'll see you then. Go Porks.